Hello and welcome to Free Trading Education from Specialist Trading. Now this week's presentation is entitled The Trending Tool You've Been Searching For. But what I'm really going to be talking to you about today, the underlying theme is all about simplicity in trading, because that's really what it's all about. Even though you're looking for the trend, as most traders are taught to do, what you want is something that's simple enough to actually identify what the trend is so that you can jump on board and trade any strategy, any technique you'd like. For example, let's look at this chart in SEDG going back a couple of months. Now here's the way most traders will overcomplicate their trading. They'll use some type of traditional wisdom and interpreting the markets. For example, you take that class which talks about support and resistance. Now let's say all the institutions are selling here, so naturally you want to be a seller, right, as well, because you want to go along with the big money, right, the banks. So this is one way in which we overcomplicate our trading based off of things that are really showing no consistency at all. The tool and the technique I'm going to be sharing with you today is extremely simple. In fact, all you have to do is follow the color of a couple of bars and you'll be able to identify that an uptrend signal was actually given right here, and then another one was given right here. So right at these 2 points, you would have known that the market was headed into a strong uptrend. How high, we don't know, but it was about to begin. Forget about resistance, forget about support, forget about convoluted indicators, forget about what economic reports are coming out. Listen to what the market's telling you. It's the simplest thing you can do. Because if you listen to the market, it was translating that it wanted to go up at these 2 points. And then later on, as you see here, SEDG rose 35 points in the next 2 months. So remember, we do not predict how high or how low something will go. All we're trying to do is listen to the market, tell us which direction it wants to go. And then once we know that, we can apply any technique, any method to that direction. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, well, why? This is great, but how do I find this? Or how do I apply a technique? Or how do I learn how to apply this particular uptrending method? Well, it's all done simplicity in our new PTS Primo charting platform. This is the educational portal that actually teaches you how to trade with the trend. So this promises to be a great educational presentation today. Once again, thank you for joining me on these Wednesdays. Each and every Wednesday, I have a free educational webinar. And today, as I said, we're going to be talking about the trend. Now, my name is Steven Primo. I'm the president and founder of Specialist Trading. 10 years ago, I teamed up with ProTrader Strategies with one goal in mind, and that was simply to educate traders around the world. You see, we came to the conclusion that that's what's missing with all traders, education. And someone would say, well, why do you need the education? Why can't you just go and find out what some guru was doing and have you list on a nightly basis what to buy and what to sell? Well, if you think about it, the entire financial industry is based on that. It's all based on you going to a website or you taking some system that you spend $10,000 for, and it automatically pops up the buy and sells for you what you to do the next day. Okay? Now, sure, we at our websites, we have signals for our strategies, but we have signals for educational purposes only so that you know what to identify. Ultimately, we're teaching you what to look for so that you can make your decision. But the industry is based basically on you following them. Now, someone would say, what's wrong with that, Steve? Well, let's look at the statistics. 80 to 85% of all traders fail. So if the entire industry is based off you just blindly following them, do the statistics show that that works at all? Not really. So really, when you take yourself out of the game, when you basically allow someone to make your own trading decisions for you, you're really allowing a recipe for disaster. That's why ProTrader Strategies and I teamed up so that we could supply you with education so that ultimately you can make your own trading decisions, okay? Now, I've been trading for 42 years, 43 in the next couple of months now, coming into the next year. And in that over 4 decades, I've seen and traded just about everything. I started my career on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange where I made markets. That's what a specialist is, and that's where we get the name Specialist Trading. So I made markets in about 50 stocks. If you wanted to buy or sell anything, you had to come up to the trader who made a market in that, who specialized in making a market and in trading that stock. I traded and specialized during the crash of '87 and the bull market that followed. So I've seen and traded everything you can think of. If it's new, if it's some brand new strategy, some brand new system, trust me, it's been around before. They've just rebranded it. But most of the things I've traded really have no levels of consistency. So at Specialist Trading and ProTrader Strategies, what we do is teach you the things that have shown consistency over the decades. And so ultimately, we want to teach you and educate you so that you can be in charge. Not me. I won't tell you what to buy or what to sell. I won't tell you the perfect time frame. If you come here thinking that I'm going to tell you what the perfect market is and what you should buy tomorrow or this next week or even after we conclude this presentation, you've come to the wrong place. We don't do that. What we do is we educate you so that you will be in charge of your own trading destiny. In my opinion, the only way one can become a consistent trader is by making their own decisions. So I'm going to teach you a really neat method today that really has a high level of consistency for identifying the trend, because that's really what it's all about, getting in sync with the market. But before we begin, as always, we are required by law to share this with you, so please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results using this technique and this tool, but please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future, and please remember that all examples are strictly for educational purposes only. Now, as you're taking a brief moment to view our required disclaimer, once again, we have a lot of you here. I see a lot of familiar faces in the name list, but also we know that we have a lot of new faces here, so please feel free and please follow us on Twitter. Why? Because there's a lot of great free information that I post on a daily basis, a lot of free educational information. So you might want to copy down our handle there, abbreviation for specialist trading. I post anywhere from signals our strategies have generated and show you why they were generated to little bits of financial wisdom I've accumulated along the way. So lots of great free education. Feel free to follow us on Twitter. Now, as I stated in the opening statements, we are first and foremost an educational company. This is an educational presentation, okay? So that's why we're different from some other webinars you may have attended, in that we always try to leave you with something at least you can experiment with or try on your own. Remember, my goal is not to force feed you signals. It's not to tell you what the perfect market is. So many webinars I go to just to see what's going on out there, and someone will say, this is the brand new hot market. You've got to trade this, okay? Remember, it was Bitcoin last year. Other times, it could be a certain stock or a certain commodity or a forex currency pair. We're not here to do that. We're not going to tell you what the perfect time frame is. Those are the things you have to decide. Never allow someone to decide how you should be trading. You should be in charge. So most students say, well, Steve, I don't have enough experience. I don't know enough. I didn't go to school and study economics. You know, I don't have a background in trading. Well, guess what? When I first started trading, I didn't either. But I was taught these same things. And these same things have sustained me now, going on 42, almost 43 years. So hopefully what we teach you can sustain you for that amount as well. Now, we want to take each and every one of your questions, but we're a little bit different from other webinars as well in that we want to take the questions at the very end. That way we don't bog down and have to stop at every slide. Many times if you wait for the next slide to appear, your question will be answered right away. Now, the only question I will answer at this time is this being recorded? Yes, it is. So if you have to leave early, or more importantly, let's say you're having technical issues, if you can't see or hear me clearly, oftentimes it's your own internet connection. So if you just log off and then log back on again, perhaps your internet connection will reformat everything. But if you're still having difficulty seeing or hearing, don't worry. We will provide each and every one of you a link to this recording after we've concluded, okay? So once again, if you have any questions, keep them till the very end. With that stated, let's begin today's educational class. Now I want to start off by telling you something that my mentors taught me over 4 decades ago on the trading floor. Now remember, I started out on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. And believe it or not, just because I was on the floor didn't mean I have a license to steal and that I automatically made hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars a year. In fact, I struggled my very first 2 years. I had a terrible time. For some reason, nothing was working for me. And I'm sure many of you have gone through that. Perhaps many of you are going through that right now. In fact, I was doing all the things you're supposed to do. I was reading all the books, going to all the classes, all the seminars. We didn't have webinars then because there was no internet, but I was going to all the seminars. I was trading support and resistance. I was looking at the volume. I knew what the institutions were doing because I was interacting with them on a daily basis. They were entering orders in my book. I knew all about all these convoluted indicators, and I knew all the earnings of all the stocks I was trading. Guess what? Nothing was working, okay? My mentors, who were specialists themselves, who had been trading about 40 years themselves individually, saw how much I was struggling. And here was one of the first things they taught me to get me on the road to consistency. And I remember they said, Steve, it is the easiest thing in the world to overcomplicate your trading. Virtually anyone can do that. And think of it. You can really, it doesn't matter if you're trading 20 years or 20 minutes. Anyone can overcomplicate their trading by adding more and more things. You can have 20 indicators the way I did on your trading screen. You can be looking at every economic report, every news announcement, every jobless claims report to try and figure out what the market is doing. You can be listening to all these so-called gurus, all these institutions, all these outside sources telling you what they're doing. But it doesn't in any way validate that you're going to have success. In fact, it's actually the opposite. So it's really easy to overcomplicate your trading. It doesn't take a lot of character to do that. But it takes a lot of character to simplify your trading, because it's the most difficult thing in the world to simplify, because you have to let go of these things that we've been taught really have a high level of success and consistency. But in all reality, they don't. They don't have any more consistency than something coming from someone who's been trading 20 minutes. So it takes a tremendous amount of courage to let go. But once you do, you're really in for the ride of your life, because then you see how simple trading can be and how you only need one or two things to tell you how to trade. Okay, so this is what we're going to focus on today, the simplicity of trading, keeping things as simple as possible. All right, so how does one simplify their trading? Okay, obviously you want to let go of what my mentors called all this useless noise, but you want to focus on the main format, and that is by trading with the trend. Now, obviously, we've all been taught this. This is Trading 101. We're all taught, okay, the trend is your friend. You'll never go wrong with the trend, all right? The only trouble is there are 1,000,001 ways in which to determine what the trend is. And most of them really don't work. It's been my experience that most of them don't work at all. They're too subjective. They're too difficult to figure out. Now, there are a few things, a few generic things that you can start using today that, have a certain level of consistency. Not great, but they'll get by. You'll be able to get by with these. Now here's what they are. They're indicators. A lot of traders like to look at indicators to tell them when a trend has started and when it's about to end. One of the most simplistic ways is by looking at moving average when they cross over. A lot of traders like to look at two different indicators, one a higher time frame and a lower time frame. Once they cross over, that determines that the trend is changing. A little bit of a lagging tool, but still works okay, nothing great, okay? Another one is patterns. A lot of traders like to look at patterns. Higher highs, higher lows for an uptrend. Lower lows, lower highs for a downtrend. Okay, that can work all right as well. And still, traders love to look at different time frames. I have students who swear that the higher time frame must be in sync with the lower time frame and vice versa. So they will always know that the trend is one way or another when the two time frames are in sync. These all have certain generic levels of consistency, but they're really not great. Why? Firstly, because they're usually lagging, and secondly is because they don't focus on the one thing you should be focusing on. And that's really what you need is a translator, because in order to trade in sync with the current trend, you need a tool that translates what the market wants to do on a tick-by-tick basis. Remember, those other tools are generic, and they can work okay and all right on a certain level, but they're not really translating what the market wants to do, because the market is a different animal. It's a different being. That's why so many traders have trouble with it. It's not a competitor. It's not there to outsmart us. It's not something you have to slay. It's simply something that speaks another language. Once you understand it in terms of that mindset, well, then you're halfway there. But you still need a tool that's translated, because our only job is simply to figure out what it wants to do and then jump on board, okay? All right, so how can we translate? How can we listen to what the market wants to do? Well, there's only one tool in my 42, almost 43 years of experience that can translate, and that tool is the Pet Dee. That tool is something I was taught some 40 years ago by my mentors, and I've used it in some capacity in every trade, in every trading method I use, in every strategy, because it is so powerful. All right, so for those of you who aren't familiar with what the Pet Dee is, it's a tool that I was taught some 40 years ago on the floor that will roughly translate what the market wants to do on a tick-by-tick basis. Unfortunately, it's something that you have to calculate by hand, and it's rather cumbersome. It's not very, very complicated. It's just cumbersome. So we've taken all the hard work out of it for you. We've made it into a proprietary algorithm. In other words, we're not releasing what the calculation is, and we're doing that to relieve you of all that hard work. We're simply making it into a color bar tool. So all you have to do is simply look at the colors, because the colors will tell you whether you're in a short-term uptrend or a short-term downtrend, okay? You can also use it to confirm any signal you want. Now, let's say you have a strategy that's okay, all right? I don't care what it's based off of. It doesn't have to be one of my strategies. It could be something you've devised. It could be something based off fundamental news. It can be something based off the full moon. It makes absolutely no difference. But you can use the Pet Dee to confirm that signal. In other words, if the full moon says you should be buying, well, that bar should be green, colored by the Pet Dee. If the tides of the ocean say you should be selling, well, that bar should be red. So that's one of the many uses of the Pet Dee. But also one of the overlooked applications of the Pet Dee is that you can use it as an early trend detector. In fact, I think this is one of the best applications of the Pet Dee. All right? So we can find out many times in advance of all these other generic tools what the trend is going to be. So that way you've already got a jump on translating what the market wants to do. So this is really a fantastic help to have when you're trying to discern which direction the market wants to go. For example, let's look at this older chart here in Zion, okay? Most traders, when they're trying to figure out what the market wants to do, figure out some way halfway down the line that, okay, we're in a full-fledged downtrend. Let's say you've been long, or maybe you want to go short, you're more of an aggressive trader, and by this time you've concluded that, okay, we're going lower, so you decide to sell either your long position or you decide to go short, all right? And you're doing pretty well for about 4 or 5 bars until this happens, all right? And then by that time, you're saying to yourself, wow, I've got a loss here. So what should I do? Should I get out with a loss? Or should I short more? Or what do I do? I can't get back in. How do I know this uptrend is going to last? Okay? Once again, this is the way most traders trade. This is why most traders fail, because you're relying on someone or something else to tell you what to do. Why not rely on what the market is telling you what it wants to do? Because after all, that's what we're trading, right? The chart in front of us. We're not trading the institutions. We're not trading volume. We're not trading some economic report. We're trading the chart in front of us. So why don't we just listen to what that's telling us, all right? Now that we add the Pet Dee, we see that the colors are red for a short-term downtrend and green for a short-term uptrend. And you see, we knew well in advance when we had a confluence of red bars right here that we wanted to go lower. And even though it doesn't pick the top or pick the bottom, we knew well in advance by a confluence of green bars that we wanted to go higher. So you see, the beauty of the Pet Dee, as it says here, is that it tells you which direction you should be trading. And once you know that direction, you can apply any technique to that direction. And I know what a lot of you are probably saying. You're saying, well, this is great, Steve, but I haven't been trading long enough, or the strategy that I've been trading is terrible. It just goes into a series of losses. And I don't even know if it would work with this. So I don't have a technique or a method to trade with. Well, I'm going to share with you a great technique. I'm going to share with you a trading technique using the Pet Dee and showing you how simple it is to apply the Pet Dee and how simple it is to trade in sync with the trend. Okay, so here's the uptrend technique rules. Okay, very simple. And remember, you see here that I've underlined technique. And the reason I didn't underline strategy is because there is a huge difference between a technique and a strategy. Most people use the common word for everything. They'll say, oh, I have a system, I have a strategy, I have a technique. But they are 3 entirely different things. Firstly, a strategy is rule-based, sure, but it has a number of things under that title. In order to have a full-fledged strategy, you need an entry point, defined entry points. You need defined exit points. You need defined stop placement, and you need defined money management. All right? These are all important pieces of the puzzle. What a technique is just one of those pieces of the puzzle. And so I'm going to be sharing with you the uptrend technique, or the way to identify that a trend has just begun. It's just one of the pieces of the puzzle, okay? Therefore, it's not a full-fledged method. But I think you'll see, after I point this out to you, how easy it is to apply to your trading. All right. Here are the standard rules for this particular technique. After a series of green bars are generated, and this doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, even though I'm going to be sharing with you a lot of stocks, it could be currency pairs, it could be futures, it could be commodities or Bitcoin, it makes no difference. But after a series of green bars appear or are generated, you'll see 1 to 3 red bars that appear, okay? Now, an uptrend setup will occur on the very next green bar. This is a sign that quick upward momentum may continue. All right, so not to be confused, let's look at a visual representation of those rules. Someone looking at this example in Tiffany would say, Steve, how in the world can you find out in any way, just looking at 5 or 6 bars here, that there's going to be a trend taking place? Well, that's because you're looking at old and outdated ways of discerning the trend. But if you have a tool that can translate, all you have to do, especially on our platform, is click on the Pet Dee, we make it simple, and it automatically colors the bars for you. We take all the hard work out. You don't have to calculate every bar. And it's simple. The bars are either green or red. They won't repaint. They won't reconstitute. They'll always stay that color once the bar is closed. So we see here we have a series of green bars followed by a red bar and then another green bar. And remember, the rules state that after a series of green bars are generated, 1 to 3 red bars may appear. Well, we only had 1 red bar appear, and then an uptrend setup will occur on the very next green bar. Well, that's this bar right here. So even only looking at this short amount of bars here, what's the market telling us? It's telling us that an uptrend is about to take place. Now, someone looking at this would say, Steve, I have never been taught anything like this. This is too simple. And, it's not telling me what the institutions or the volume is doing. It's not telling me that there's support or resistance here. How can I find out that there's going to be an uptrend taking place? This is too simple. And also, it's not enough information. Remember, you're saying the same things I said some 42 years ago when my mentors taught me this. I said, this is ridiculous. How can I find out that there's going to be an uptrend here? But believe it or not, Tiffany went up 14 points in the next week and a half or so because the market was telling you. Remember, once you get into this mindset of only listening to the market and listening to a translator that tells you what the market wants to do, trading becomes really simple. And that's what it's all about. All right, what if we want to determine what a downtrend is going to take place? Well, here's the downtrend technique. It's just the opposite side of the coin. After a series of red bars are generated, we'll see 1 to 3 green bars that may appear. A downtrend setup will occur on the very next red bar. This is a sign that quick downward momentum may continue. All right, so let's look at another visual representation here. Let's look at Oracle in August, coming into August. Once again, someone would say, well, Steve, not enough information. It basically looks like a sideways market. In fact, I would venture to say that this is some major support right here. It looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars stopped right at this low. So I would venture to say that the institutions are buying here based off momentum, based off of volume and that $10,000 class I took. And most likely the market's going to go higher. All right. Do you see how all my justification for determining what the market was going to do is based off some outside source, either the institutions, support and resistance, some volume indicator? It's silly. What is the market telling you? Well, let's use our translator. All you have to do is click on the Pet Dee. And we see here that we have most of the bars colored red, a few bars green, I should say, and then back to red again. What are the rules? After a series of red bars are generated, well, here's the series of red bars, 1 to 3 green bars may appear. Well, we have 2 green bars appearing. A downtrend setup will occur on the very next red bar, okay? All right, so we only had 2 bars. Remember, if we go past 3 green bars, that may be pushing it. So we want to see 1 to 3 green bars only. And then if it's followed by a red bar, well, guess what? Not some institution, not some financial report, not the earnings, but the market is telling you it wants to go lower, and most likely a downtrend is going to begin. And as you can see, the market went down 7 points after that. Now, the beauty of this is you'll see these occurrences happening over and over. We still have another series of red bars followed by 1 green bar and then another red bar right here. So it's telling you that the downtrend is not over. Most likely it's going to continue. All right, so that's the basic concept. And remember, once you know the trend, once you have found out a simple but highly consistent and powerful way to determine the trend, you can apply any strategy to that direction, okay? So let me show you how simple it would have been looking at some more technique examples. We'll look at some more in stocks and then in some other markets, some other time frames, and then we'll stop for questions, okay? So we have a good crowd here today. If you happen to join us late, remember, reserve your questions for the very end of today's presentation. That way we don't have to stop at every slide. Okay, let's look, and remember, once again, You're going to see how simple it is to do this on our platform, the PTS Primo charting platform. Okay, we designed this specifically. I designed this with proprietary strategies specifically to identify the trend and to make it simple. So it doesn't have to be difficult. Trading does not have to be difficult or overcomplicated. Remember, trading is overcomplicated because we make it overcomplicated. All right, here's an example in PDD in the beginning to middle of August coming into September. Once again, someone looking at this would say, Steve, how can I tell? We've gone up, but it looks like we're going back down lower again. We apply the Pet Dee, and what do we have? A series of green bars, followed by one red bar, and then another green bar. That's our signal that an uptrend technique may be taking place. So rather than say, well, Steve, we're not doing anything, we're just kind of drifting higher, but it looks like we're going to go sideways, you now know that an uptrend is most likely going to be taking place, and the stock went up 15 points. In that 15 points, you could have potentially put any strategy to the upside in that direction. It's entirely up to you. All right, let's look at BIIB. Once again, someone looking at this will say, well, Steve, it looks like we made a bottom here. All right, a real nice bottom. We're going to go right back up. Well, we apply the Pet Dee. What do we have? A series of red bars with one green bar followed by another red bar. So this is not telling you, the market is not telling you it wants to go up. The market's telling you that that was just a bounce. Most likely we're going lower in BIIB. That was a downtrend technique signal. So now you know that you should be applying a strategy, a method, a technique to short BIIB, or else if you're long, you may want to consider getting out. Ultimately, it's your choice, not mine. I'm not telling you how to trade because a good mentor does not trade for you. He teaches you how to trade so that you can make your own decisions. I said this in the very opening statements. Our philosophy is to teach you so that you never have to rely on someone telling you how to trade. So once you know that a downtrend was about to happen because the market told you, not me, well, you could have taken advantage of potentially capturing 15 points to the downside by applying a strategy. And if you missed that, don't worry, because there was another setup right here. You had one green bar and another red bar, okay? All right, let's look at Shack, all right? Once again, someone said, Steve, this is going sideways, okay? I don't want to do anything in a sideways market. In fact, that chat room I go to says you should never get involved in a sideways market because that's how you always get whipsawed, okay? Once again, you see how my justification is based off listening to someone or something else. In this case, it was some convoluted chat room you're supposed to attend, all right? That's why we don't have chat rooms at Specialist Trading and Pro Trader Strategies because there's absolutely no proof that those things help traders. In fact, in my opinion, there only serves to make a crutch for the trader because you have to rely on them and think, what are they doing? So I guess I should be doing the same thing. And what are you doing with that? You're taking yourself out of the game and relying on someone to tell you how to trade. I would never do that to my traders. That's why to my students, that's why we don't have chat rooms. So a trader would look at this and say, well, what is the market telling me? Click on Pet Dee because we're not in a sideways market. The market's telling us that we're actually in an uptrend. Here's your series of green bars, followed by one red bar and then a green bar. So it's telling you that a strong uptrend is most likely about to take place. So therefore, get ready to apply any technique, any strategy you want that has a bias towards the upside. Someone can say, how can you say that? You know, we're in a sideways, there's resistance there. How can you say that? Well, I didn't say it, the market said it. And so it went up 30 points coming in all of August into September. All right, here's an example in Netflix, okay, coming into August. All right, Netflix, based off some news or some report, I have no idea because I don't follow the news or anything. I mean, you're always free to do that if you want to, but trust me, I've been trading for 42 years now, and I stopped looking at the news some 4 decades ago, so there's no reason, I'm living proof here to tell you that there's no reason to look at it if you don't want to, but it's up to you. Once again, I'm not here to tell you how to trade. I'm only teaching you things that have shown high levels of consistency. So there was something that caused this to gap down. Someone could say, well, look at, we bottomed out here, all right? This is major support. This is where all the institutions are buying, and look at this. We're probably just stopping for 1 or 2 days before we're going to go back and fill up that gap, all right? That's the way I was taught in that class, and I'm all excited, so I'm buying this. All right, what is the market telling you? Well, the market's telling us that we have a series of red bars, followed by 2 green bars, and then 1 red bar. So after the technique of what I just taught you today, that's a downtrend setup. That is not getting ready for a market to go higher. So get ready to have a seller's bias as opposed to a buyer's bias. Because Netflix, as you've seen coming into this past week, has gone down 60 points since then. And as we see here, if you missed that, if you happened to go long and then took a major loss, well, guess what? You had another chance to get out because you have a series of red bars, one green bar, followed by another red bar. So we had another chance to know that this downtrend was continuing, and still another and another and another. So the market, not some guy in a chat room, not some institution, but the market is always trying to tell you what it wants to do. The only trouble is we never listen to it. We're always listening to some outdated traditional wisdom that really shows no levels of consistency. All right, how about shop? All right, once again, someone looking at this would say, well, it looks like it's topped out maybe, but if we apply the Pet Dee, we have a series of green bars, one red bar, followed by another green bar. That is an uptrend setup. Now, it's not a strategy. Remember, a lot of you are saying, so Steve, so that means I just buy here? No. This is just telling you the market wants to go higher. Now, it may take a little bit before it goes there, but oftentimes it goes right away. So get ready with a technique or a strategy to get in, because shop went up 50 points in the next couple of weeks. Don't you think you would have liked to have been ready to go long that based on whatever strategy you want to trade? How about Ulta? Okay. This looks like it's kind of going lower, but it looked like it stopped. You have a bullish engulfing pattern right there. It looks like it's made a major bottom. But if you see the Pet Dee, the translator is telling you you have a series of red bars followed by 3 green bars. Now, if we had one more green bar, all bets would have been off. But we didn't. It was followed by a red bar. So that is a downtrend setup. Is this guaranteed? Absolutely not. I don't want you to think that this works 100% of the time, because the market changes its mind, all right? It's like a river. Sometimes it's going smooth, sometimes it's rapid, sometimes it's slow like a pond. You never know what it wants to do. All we can do is try and translate it what it wants to do on a tick-by-tick basis. So at the end of this bar, it was telling us it wants to go lower. Well, 110 points lower. In fact, coming into the end of September here. Now, there was obviously some reason, once again, could have been some news, some earnings. I don't know. I don't look at any fundamental news. So I have no idea why this went down 110 points. I have no idea why it gapped down like that. But if someone said, well, how did you know it was going down? Because the market told me. I don't really care about anything else other than that. And if I missed this setup, well, guess what? There was another one and another one right here. All right, remember the first example we shared with you at the beginning of the presentation where someone had said, well, Steve, there was major resistance there. That class I took on the institutions, they're selling right here, and I'm not going to buy until we break out. And most likely I'll be a seller because that's major, major resistance. Okay, I don't listen. I used to deal with institutions, and they used to change their mind every 5-10 minutes. I would get orders in my book when I was on the floor to sell 1 million shares at a certain price. It would last for about a day, and then the next day they would cancel their order right away. So I would never base anything off of what an institution is doing. I mean, they don't have any clear idea of what anything's going to happen than someone who's just been trading for a shorter period of time. So what is the market telling you? The market's telling you that if we apply the Pet Dee, we have a series of green bars followed by one red bar and then another green bar, all right? So that's our first uptrend sign. Now, did something happen right away? Absolutely not. But then we have another setup right here, another series of green bars followed by another green bar. I'm sorry, there was one right here, and then still another one right here. So in all effect, we had 3 setups telling us the market wants to go higher. So I don't care what some institution is telling you. I don't care what some earnings estimate is going to be. The market tells you many times in advance of any type of that information. So I'd rather listen to the market than some convoluted traditional wisdom. And as you can see, SCDG rose 35 points in the next 2 months. And if you miss those setups, not to worry, 2 more setups right here before it took off. All right, let's look at some other markets because we don't want you to think this is only applicable to stocks, okay? Now, let's look at a weekly time frame first. Here's a weekly time frame in CBPO, all right? Someone looking at this and say, Steve, major, major sell here. You have a bearish engulfing pattern. I would not touch this with a 10-foot pole, okay? What's the Pet Dee telling you? You have a series of green bars followed by 2 red and then another green. The Pet Dee is saying, don't consider that a valid setup. What is the market telling you? It wants to go higher. So that's an uptrend setup. went up 22 points on a weekly time frame coming into September, okay? So if you're a swing trader, this could help you tremendously. How about urban? Okay, here's a weekly chart. Once again, someone looking at this would say, well, not enough information, but you see a series of red, one green, followed by another red. That is a downtrend setup, all right? You can apply any strategy you want to the downside, or if you're long, you could use this to get out. Doesn't matter. The stock fell 17 points, and you had more chances to go short if you wanted to. Let's look at a monthly chart. Let's say you're an investor, okay? You're not a swing trader, you're an investor. You say, well, Steve, I'm looking here from September 2016, 3 years ago, to May 2017. Not much information. Actually, there's a lot of information. You apply the Pet Dee, you have a series of green bars, one red bar, and then another green bar. That's all we need to know that the market is telling us at that moment. Anything can change, but at that moment, at the end of that month, I believe it was April 2017, a couple of years ago, that the market wanted to go higher. That's all you need to know, in my opinion. Then you just have to apply some strategy to go long, all right? Someone could say, but Steve, I'm a long-term investor. I need to know what the company's doing. I need to know the financial, capability of the company. I need to know who the CEO is. I need to know the long-term earnings. If you want to know that, that's fine, because remember what I told you at the very beginning, what my mentors taught me. It is the easiest thing in the world to overcomplicate your trading. It's not necessarily. It takes a lot of courage, though. It's very difficult to simplify. And this is the most simple way I know of which to find what the trend is. Because the stock, KMPR, went up 50 points coming into July of this last year. And if you missed that, it would have even given you a second chance right here in January of this year. All right, let's look at an entirely different market, a 4-hour chart of the Australian dollar, okay? A lot of the currency pair traders like to trade 4-hour charts. Someone looking at this would say, well, gosh, Steve, kind of a sideways market, support here, resistance here, I don't have any idea. Actually, if you apply the Pet Dee, you have a series of red bars, 2 green bars, followed by a red bar. What is that telling you? It's telling you, not me, the 4-hour Australian dollar chart is telling you that's a downtrend setup. That you shouldn't be thinking about going long the Australian dollar on this time period. You should be thinking about going short. And in the next 2 or 3 days, it went down 100 pips. Roughly about $1,000 potentially could have captured per unit, okay? And lastly, let's look at a 15-minute chart of the EMini Futures. All right, this was September 11th, just 2 or 3 weeks ago. Once again, just based off of this chart, this is a 15-minute chart, this is based off of an hour or two. Someone could say, there's not enough information, Steve, but if you apply the Pet Dee, the same process, it makes no difference if we change markets or time frames. We see here that we have a series of green bars, followed by one red bar, followed by another green bar. Now, what is this telling you? Not me, not someone in a chat room, because remember, we don't have chat rooms, but what have I taught you? I've taught you that the market is telling you that is an uptrend setup. Now, whatever strategy you want, remember, I'm not trying to tell you that you have to trade my strategy. You can trade something else, something you've made up or something from another educator. It makes no difference. But whatever strategy you take to apply here, it should have a buyer's bias. You shouldn't be looking to go short. Why? Because the market, not me, not some fundamental report and not some news event coming out, but the market's telling you it wants to go higher. And as you can see, in the next day, it went up 38 points. That's potentially $1,900 per contract. But you could have applied any strategy within that 38 points to go long. So let's recap what we taught you today. It is very complicated, or I should say, it is what traders mostly do is very simple. All they do is overcomplicate their trading. That's basically what I wanted to say to you. But how do you keep it simple? Well, after a series of green bars are generated, you're looking for 1 to 3 red bars to appear. After they appear, an uptrend setup will occur on the very next green bar. Now, you want to keep your trading simple. After a series of red bars are generated, 1 to 3 green bars may appear. A downtrend setup will occur on the very next red bar. That's how you uncomplicate your trading, by just following these simple rules to determine which direction the market wants to go. It's as simple as that. All right, extremely important points to remember before we close here. This is not a trading strategy. I know a lot of you are going to say, wow, this is great. So I just buy when it shows that setup and just sell when it shows the other? No. In order to do that, you have to have advanced entry signals. You have to know exactly at which point you would enter. I never talked exactly about entering. And you have to have stop placement rules. We didn't talk about where to place your stop if you're wrong, because remember I said it doesn't work 100% of the time because the market is fickle. The market will change its mind on a dime. And we didn't talk about exiting. What if you are right? Well, you potentially could have captured, let's say, 50 points. Well, where do you get out? Do you try to go for 100 points? Do you go for only 1 point? You don't have any exit signals in place. And lastly, we didn't talk about money management. These are all important pieces of the puzzle in order to have a trading strategy, a trading method. We didn't talk about those today. We just shared with you a great and powerful, consistent technique to determine what the trend is. All right, now ask yourself, before you ask me questions, 2019 is almost over. In other words, we only have about 3 months left. Do you think this trending tool can help your trading for the remainder of the year? If you're like most traders, you've most likely struggled in 2019. All right, could this help you to close out strong? Could it help you to start 2020 on the right track? I think the answer is yes. So, because it's most likely yes, we have a great discount for all the attendees today. We're going to offer you a great way to become a student of mine in the Pet Dee course, the Primo Early Trend Detector course. We call this our roadmap for any market because you can apply it to any market. It's a proprietary algorithm. This includes the add-on that can change the bars from green to red. This also comes with 2 continuation trading techniques. All right, I just gave you 1. It also comes with 2 more and 2 pullback trading techniques. All right, it also comes with a trailing stop technique. And lastly, it comes with educational correspondence from yours truly. You'll get my personal email to email me questions whenever you'd like concerning trading the Pet Dee. Now, we're also going to give you another great advantage to this offer by throwing in our PTS Primo charting platform. This is the educational portal you've been searching for to help you discern what the trend is. Today only, we're going to offer you a full year of the platform for free. Now, the beauty of this is you're not just going to get the Pet Dee course with this. You're also going to get a one-click access to the Pet Dee, but enhanced by sell line. This is another way to determine the overall trend because the Pet Dee is really taking the trend on a short-term basis, on a tick-by-tick basis. But we also have 4 different ways to determine the overall trend. You're also going to get a strength of trend tool. This is a great tool I devised with ProTrader Strategies that has a unique ability to determine, not 100% guaranteed, but to show you many times when a trend may be running out of gas. So this will help you whether you want to get in or whether you're thinking about getting out. This comes with also a signal scanner to scan for how many stocks are green or red with the Pet Dee or with the buy-sell line. Over 90 of the most prominent technical indicators, Bloomberg TV, and personalized tech support. Now, this is our roadmap for any market. Here's the great offer we're going to present to you, all the attendees today, to have you close out 2019 on a very strong note. The Pet Dee course and application and platform is $29.95. That's a great price, but what we're going to be doing is offer you a payment plan. So for $14.97, a one-time payment of $14.97 plus $97 a month, okay? You'll be able to get the Pet Dee, but this is for today only. That also comes with 1 year of the platform. Trust me, a year from today, you will have wished you had taken this course because most likely that price is going to be doubled. Last year or a year or 2 ago when we gave this same exact course, the Pet Dee was roughly about $600 or $700, okay? Now it's up to $14.97 for a one-time fee. Now I'm sorry, for a one-time fee with $97 after that. Now, if you want to just pay for it one time without having a payment plan, it can be purchased for $29.95. Here's what I would suggest. Contact ProTrader Strategies. They are in charge of all the discounts with the course and all the tech support with the platform. They would be more than happy to work with you to set up some type of a deal with you, a payment plan with the discount. There's absolutely no obligation if you contact them. So I would suggest, rather than emailing them at the email address there, I would suggest calling them at 310-598-6677. Once again, there are trading consultants manning the phones right now. They would be more than happy to discuss payment plans and discounts with you, and they would be able to answer any questions concerning that, as well as tech support over the phone, okay? My main job is to teach you all the trading aspects and all the ways in which to apply for your personal trading needs. They're in charge of discounts and tech support. So that, once again, there's absolutely no obligation. Give them a call at 310-598-6677. Now, if you want more information about the Pet Dee, as you see here, we have this link posted on the very bottom of the page. I don't believe it's a live link, so I've posted a live one in your chat box right now. So all you have to do is go to the chat box on the far right-hand corner of the GoToWebinar column there. You see on the chat box category, there's a live link there, and that will take you to that sign-up page. Now, as I stated earlier, I will take all the questions you have right now. So all you have to do is go to your question and answer box, and I'll type them in, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Bern is asking, hi Steve, does it matter what time frame to take the signals off the Pet Dee? That's a great question, and absolutely not. It makes no difference. Now, once again, we have traders who swear that what they like to do is, let's say you're looking at the spiders, okay? And on the daily time frame, the bar is red. But on the weekly time frame, let's say the bar is green, okay? What they like to do is have them line up. Now, once again, that in no way is required. But if you feel that will help you get more consistent, then by all means, go ahead and apply it. We don't, in any way use that or subscribe to that notion. In fact, it's my personal opinion that there's no consistency in using that technique at all. That's why I don't use it. But we have a lot of students who swear by it, so we're not here to tell you how to trade. We're here just to give you sound fundamental techniques that work. So in my opinion, it does not matter what time frame to take the signals off of. It's entirely up to you. But what we teach our students is to only trade the time frame that the signal is being generated on. Okay? So in other words, if you're looking at a 5-minute chart and you have one of those uptrend signals generated on a 5-minute chart of IBM or the futures or a currency pair, that's the only thing I look at, and that's what we teach our students. That's the only thing you need to look at. You don't need to look at the hourly or the weekly or the daily. But if you want to, it's entirely up to you, okay? That's a good question, and that comes up a lot. I know a lot of students are always concerned about that, but it's entirely up to you. Mark asks, Steve, is there a best time to use the Pet Dee fast versus the Pet Dee slow? Well, Mark, I don't, I haven't gone into that. That's something we go into the course. Obviously, you know about the difference. The only thing I would say is, for those of you who aren't familiar, we give you 2 versions of the Pet Dee. I would say that 3/4 of what we do uses the Pet Dee fast. We just call it the Pet Dee fast. It's basically the Pet Dee standard, okay? But we also have a slower version. And the reason why we call it slower is that it takes more time to come up with its calculation. It's not so hard to calculate because you have more ticks to generate before a signal has been generated, okay? We mainly use the Pet Dee standard or the Pet Dee fast for entering or for telling us what the short-term time frame is. Okay, that's the basic usage of it. What we use the Pet Dee slow for is more for exiting trades or for using techniques to exit. In other words, that will keep you in a trade a lot longer, and you can use that when you want to determine your exits. And this is all described in detail in the course. But the majority of the use is on the Pet Dee fast. But once again, we encourage you to experiment with it. I mean, we always get questions on a weekly basis. Well, Steve, what do I use? A Pet Dee fast, Pet Dee slow? It's up to you. Now, since we use mainly in most of our examples the Pet Dee fast, that doesn't mean you can't use the Pet Dee slow for it. It's up to you. We have students that only swear, they say, Steve, I get the best results using the Pet Dee slow. Okay? Well, then fine. Then use that. We also get students that say, no, Steve, I get the best results using the Pet Dee fast. Is one right and the other wrong? No, because you may trade a different way. You may trade a different market. You may trade a different time frame. This is why we say no 2 traders should ever trade alike. That's why we don't have chat rooms. You have to find what works for you. We're providing you with the information, but then you have to research and identify what makes you feel the most comfortable. Now, don't worry. We don't just throw you to the wolves and say good luck. I'm there with you every step of the way. You can email me whenever you like and ask me questions, and I'll go into a step-by-step process trying to help you. But ultimately, I can't trade for you, so you've got to make that decision, okay? It's entirely up to you, so you've got to make that decision, but we are there with you every step of the way. Good questions, all right? Remember, we're not trying to basically, I know a lot of students are saying, well, Steve, well then, you know, what am I paying for? We are in the course, we show you all the different ways to use it, but then you have me personally through, you know, I should say, through email access, being able to work with you. So don't worry, we're not going to leave you alone and say, well, you've got the online course, now just decide for yourself. No, I'll be there with you. You can work, and I can ask you what type of a trader or what makes you feel comfortable, and then steer you in the direction that may make you feel more comfortable, a way in which to trade. Remember, a good mentor does not trade for you. He teaches you how to trade, okay? Now, I've just shown you a lot of examples in stocks, currency pairs, futures, all right? I'm sorry I couldn't show you Bitcoin, but there are examples there. There are examples in currency and commodities. I mean, I could show you them, but I just didn't have enough time. As you can see, we're running out of time here. These examples are generated all over the place, in all markets, in all time frames, in all directions. So if you want to take your trading to the next level, you owe yourself to really take advantage of this great offer. Remember, contact ProTrader Strategies. There's absolutely no obligation. They would be more than happy to work with you for a deal. At least you can finish 2019 strong and know that you're going in the right direction for 2020. All right? If you've been struggling, if you're depressed, if you're thinking, boy, I've traded for so long and I just can't seem to get, you know, ends met here. I just can't seem to be going forward. I really think we can help you. I'd love to help you as your mentor, and I'd love to work with you. So contact ProTrader Strategies. Take advantage of this. Remember, this great offer is for one day only, so you have to act fast, okay? In conclusion, I hope you learned a little bit today. I hope you got something out of this and saw our philosophy and how we really want to educate you in terms of detail, in terms of how we really want to take you to the next level. And as you take one last look at our disclaimer here, I just want to say thank you so much for attending. I wish you the best of luck, and I look forward to all of you becoming students of mine in the Pet Dee course, okay? Thank you so much. Have a great day. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.